Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminolly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, well, it's nearly the end of July, which means it's nearly time for GarbAugust. So today I'm going to talk you through my tentative TBR for GarbAugust. I do reserve the right to change it at any point because who knows what wonderful trash I'm going to discover between now and the end of August and want to read. If you don't know already, and if you've watched the channel at all, I'm sure you do because I talk about it incessantly, GarbAugust is a month dedicated to reading trashy books. I have some wonderful co-hosts who I will list in the description for the video. And I have a big stack of books to talk to you about today. So there are 4 themed weeks for GarbAugust. So the first week is Sex and or Violence, which is dedicated to books that go out of their way to have sexual or violent content in them. Second week is Vintage Trash, so trash published before 1980. Third week is Anything Goes, so you can read anything you want in that week as long as it's trashy. And the final week is WTF, so trash that really goes the extra mile to be as trashy as trash can be. We also have, of course, the GarbAugust GarbBingo card, which has 14 squares on it, which you can tick off as you go through the month, just to add a bit more fun to the proceedings. And on top of that, just to make it even more complicated for myself, there are 3 reading events going on in August, other reading events, which I'm going to try and read at least one book that fits. So the first one of those is Audible August, which is being run by Gareth from Book Songs and Other Magic, which is dedicated to reading books that have a relationship to music. The second one is August of Adventures, which is being run by Sean D. Stabfast and Mark from Book Time with Elvis, which is all about kind of adventure, fiction and non-fiction. And then the third one, and apologies, I forgot to check who it is who's hosting this, is a reading event that's all about reading translated fiction, or translated books rather, by female authors. So I've got books, I think, in this stack that cover all 4 of the weeks, all 3 of those reading events, and all 14 squares on the bingo card. Right, before we go through the books, let me just remind you who all of the hosts are. You will remember that the hosts all have alternative smutty channel names for the month of August, which I will completely fail to read without laughing, I have no doubt. So let me go through all of them anyway. So I am Screaming Ollie. We also have been joined by a later entrant in the host list, so not announced in the original video, but he is now one of the hosts, and that is It Came All Over the Page. We then have Steve Donahue, Shall We Swing Again, Alice and the Giant Bleep, Gina Stania, Michael K. Porn, This Just Fits In, Sex Manic, Pegged by Visions, Ass Horny Time, Fiber Tarty, and Another Boobyphile Reads Playboy for the Articles. So yes, those are your hosts, the Dirty Baker's Dozen we are. Right, so let me go through my books. So I'm going to try and remember as I go through which bingo square the book relates to. I've got them stacked in order of the weeks. So we'll see how I get on. Okay, so a reminder, first week is Sex and or Violence. So I have, first up, Women's Barracks by Tereska Torres, which is also my pick for the translated work by a female author. So this was originally published in French, and it's a tell-all autobiography about life as a French girl soldier, apparently. So I think is fairly well known as one of the original kind of lesbian pulp books. But yes, it looks a lot of fun. I then have Naked Came the Stranger by Penelope Ash. So another sexy book. This one also ticks off the bingo square for a book published under a pseudonym. So Penelope Ash was actually the name of, I think, the sister of one of the writers or something like that. So this was written collectively by a group of book critics who wanted to prove that any book would sell in the American market as long as it had enough sex in it. So this was written in response, I think, partly to Valley of the Dolls by Jacqueline Suzanne. It's supposed to be wonderfully and deliberately trashy, so looking forward to that one. On the violence theme, so next we have the Sharpshooter number 11, Triggerman by Bruno Rossi, which looks like a hell of a lot of fun, so very much looking forward to that one. Okay, moving on then, I have more violence, so Snakes by Gaia and Smith. So this ticks off the killer animals square on the bingo card. So Gaia and Smith, a very, very trashy, very prolific British horror author, most well known for his Killer Crabs novels. Next up, no stranger to the channel, Mac Bolan. So I have Executioner 13, Washington IOU by Don Pendleton. So I absolutely love the Executioner books. This is the next one I need to read in the series, and it also ticks off 2 of the squares on the bingo card. So firstly, it is from a series with more than 100 entries. So the Executioner series, like the core series, has I think over 400 entries. And then there's a bunch of spin-off series to it as well. And this also ticks off the read a book with a cigarette advert in it square on the bingo card. So a twofer with this one. Okay, next up then we have more sexy stuff. So Dirty Movies by Herbert Castle, which you'll remember is the book that contains a character called Fanny Batcher. So this ticks off, again, a couple of squares on the bingo card. So this ticks off a dirty book, because I'm pretty sure this is dirty. I think Naked Came the Stranger is also probably pretty dirty. And also the nudity on the cover square, which also gets ticked off by Naked Came the Stranger, but I really want to read both of them. Okay, next we have... so now we are moving into the vintage trash week, so trash published before 1980. So first up I have Airport 77 by Michael Sheff and David Spector, which was published, I think, yes, it was indeed published in 1977. I just wanted to double check that. So yeah, this looks pretty fab, and also ticks off the novelisation square on the bingo card. Next up, another one with nudity on the cover. So the Judas Spy by, well, not by Nick Carter, so within the Nick Carter series. So again, this is from a series with more than 100 entries, and it has nudity on the cover. So pretty fantastic. So this was published, let me check when this was published. The copyright page. This was published in 1968, so comfortably within the vintage time frame. Next up, we have Night Chills by Dean Koontz. So again, with the nudity on the cover, and also I think this could also have been read in the Sex and or Violence week. I've put it in the vintage week. So this was published in 1976 originally. So Dean Koontz is one of those writers who I think was wonderfully trashy when he started, and packed lots of sex and violence into his books, and is now just a bit boring and a bit of a hallmark card. I think his books have far too many kind of platitudes and morals and things like that, but he used to be trashy, so I'm going to read this one for GarbAugust. And then finally, one of the kings of vintage trash, Harold Robbins, so The Carpetbaggers, probably his most famous novel, which is heavily recommended to me by a subscriber, Rick Croucher. I'm really, really looking forward to this one. It's a bit of a chonker though. It is 700 pages long, so I need to make sure I manage to fit this in. Oh, and I've realised, I'm just checking I haven't missed any bingo card squares. I have, so I forgot to say that the Executioner also ticks off the Men's Adventure square on the bingo card. Okay, so moving on to week 3, which is the Anything Goes week. So I've got an 80s horror novel for this one, which I'm going to be reading on Kindle, which is Thor by Wayne Smith, which is supposed to be really good, but I think is quite trashy as well. So it's a novel about a dodgy uncle who moves in with a family, but it's told from the perspective of the family dog, who is the only one who can tell that he's dodgy. So reading that for Kelly Hooked on Books' From Hell Book Club. Looking forward to that one a lot. And also on Kindle, in order to tick off the read a book by a celebrity square on the bingo card, I'm going to be reading Make My Wish Come True by Katie Price. So I don't know how well known Katie Price is internationally. She's very well known in the UK. So I started life as a page 3 girl. So if you don't know what a page 3 girl is, one of the national newspapers over here used to have on page 3 every day a topless woman. Katie Price, modelling under the name of Jordan, was a page-3 girl and subsequently a glamour model in other publications, shall we say. She's latterly become, more of a kind of TV celebrity, hosting programs and things like that. But also has published a ton of books, including a load of novels. So I got this one purely because it was one of the cheaper ones. It was only £1.99 on Kindle. So yes, we will see what this is like. I have no idea, but I'm fairly sure it's going to be trashy. Also, for Anything Goes, I will be reading Savages by Shirley Conran, which I'm also reading for the August Adventures read-along. So this is a book about a group of rich wives who get stranded on a desert island where there are terrorists. So it's got that kind of tropical adventure vibe going on, and also, I suspect, lots of trashy glamour. Okay, continuing for Anything Goes, I've got the first of the Kids from Fame novelisation, so another one that ticks off that novelisation square on the bingo card. So this is by Lisa Todd, which is a pseudonym of Stephen Gallagher, the horror author. So again, ticking off that pseudonym tag again. So this one also works, I think, for the Book Songs and Other Magic event, Audible August. So we'll be reading this one for that as well, given that it involves people making sweet music. Okay, right. Continuing on with Anything Goes then. So I've got Dark Angel by Virginia Andrews, which is the second of the Castile saga. So VC Andrews is also a square in her own right on the bingo card because she is the queen of trash. So I tick off the VC Andrews square with this one. This again, reading for a read along with Kelly from Hooked on Books. She's doing a VC Andrews reading group, and this is the next book for that. We've also got Harlequin Romances as a square on the bingo card. So I've got this double bill of, it's Harlequin or Mills and Boon. So in the UK they call them Mills and Boon romances. So I've got these two medical romances for that. I also have a rather foolish bulk buy of NASCAR Harlequin romances coming in. So maybe read one of those instead. Okay, so that is Anything Goes week done. Moving on then to WTF week. So first up, we've got Go Ask Alice by Anonymous. So this is a book that claimed when it first came out to be the true diary of a teenage runaway and drug addict. It's not true at all. It was written by a psychiatrist based on kind of conversations he'd had with various teenagers. I'm using it on the bingo card to tick off the book based on the Moral Panic bingo card square. It's also this month's book for the Birth Year Book Tag reading group. So this was originally picked by Mrs. Thomas as her favourite book from her birth year. So yeah, reading this one, and I've included it under the WTF week because of the fact that it claimed to be the true diary of a teenager, but actually was nothing like that. And also because despite the fact that fact came out, I think, a few decades ago, it is still published under the name Anonymous rather than crediting the actual author. Moving on then for some more WTF stuff. So we have this romance, When Love Speaks, which is about a middle-aged man who adopts the daughter of the teenage daughter of a friend of his who's died. So he takes her under his care, and then they fall in love. So that seemed to meet the WTF criteria to me. Next up, a random eBay purchase of mine. So this is Melinda by Gaia Servadio. The cover is kind of reasonably WTF, but let me read you the blurb and you'll see why I've chosen it. Melinda, breaker of the mighty incest barrier. Melinda, sexiest MP in Parliament. Melinda, space girl supreme. Melinda, loveliest, most amoral, least inhibited seductress in the history of the universe. So yeah, I think that definitely ticks that WTF box. And then finally for WTF week, we have Firefly by Piers Anthony. So Piers Anthony, best known as a fantasy writer who wrote the very long series of novels in the Zant series. but also wrote this book, which is kind of a crime/horror novel, which is supposed to be one of the rapiest books ever written. So yes, interested to see if it is quite as extreme and WTF-y as it has a reputation for being. So that's my final book. I think I have now ticked off, I'm just glancing at the bingo card just to check that I've ticked off all of the things. So there is one that I haven't ticked off, and that is a book you're ashamed to read in public. I don't think I mentioned that one. So I think for that one, my pick will be, if I can get it without making the stack fall over, will be Dirty Movies by Herbert, which I definitely wouldn't want to read on the bus. And then the final one I haven't ticked off is A Shifter Romance. So I have got another Kindle book for that one, and that is Wanted by the Wolf, A Fated Mates Shifter Romance, brackets, SWAT Shifters, Book 1. So this is a book about a SWAT team member who turns into a wolf, and his romantic entanglements with, I don't know who, some unlikely woman, or unfortunate woman perhaps. He's called Cole Masters, and apparently he ferociously protects his community. So yes, looking forward to reading another Shifter Romance. I did quite enjoy Bronze Dragon, which was the first one that I read a couple of months ago. Okay, time for a random book from the shelf. So I talked about Guy Smith already in this video because I'm reading Snakes by him for GarbAugust. I also have this one by him, Blood Circuit, which I have not yet read, which has the most fantastic tagline on the cover ever, which is "Death clung to her like a haute couture shroud." So I don't really know what it's about. I think it's got something to do with motor racing. And zombie horses, if you cover it, is anything to go by. So yeah, I will get to this at some point. Wow, that was a lot of trash. So I don't know if I'm going to get through all of these. I certainly hope to. I don't know what state my brain is going to be in at the end of August. But hopefully many of you who are watching will be going on this wonderful trashy adventure with me. So if you are, do let me know what you're planning to read during GarbAugust. Thank you again to my wonderful co-hosts, all of whom have been absolutely brilliant so far. I'm really, really looking forward to GarbAugust. Looking forward to seeing what people read. Looking forward to seeing if anybody manages to get a full bingo card. And looking forward to reading a shed load of trash. So thanks as always for watching. Hope you're safe and well. Hope you're reading your stuff. And I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.